Even though I love to learn, I hated school. So I didn't opt for the college route. When I graduated, I started pursuing day trading. Day trading, like stocks and stuff. I actually day trade futures contracts, but when I tell people I day trade futures contracts, they don't really know what that means most of the time. So I usually just say, the stock market. They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's what I do every morning. Now it's not the only thing I do, but it is a pretty big part of my life. And one thing that I've learned is when I first started, of course I was 18, ignorant, and I was new to day trading. So I thought the more I studied those charts, the better I'd get at trading. So I bought books. I would sit from market open to market close. I would sit there 8 hours a day watching every single candlestick. And then I realized that it wasn't working. I was maybe over a year in, and I'm like, dude, I've been studying indicators, chart patterns, candlesticks, and every month the account is down, or it's blown up, or I'm out of money. And then I was like, all right. I had to zoom out, like my snowflake analogy. I was right here the whole time. I'm like, study. I had to zoom out and realize, okay, this isn't working. There's got to be something else here that we can change. And there was. I had to change myself. It was my own behavior that was causing my losses. And, in the beginning, when I was losing a bunch of money, I started getting career anxiety, I'm like, dude, did I make the right choice? Maybe I should have gone to college. Maybe, what if this doesn't work out? Mostly because, you hop on social media, you see people graduating, and they go to these fancy schools, and then, or maybe they get out of high school and they, boom, right into a well-paying job. You scroll through social media, you see where other people are at, and you're like, I felt behind, And then I realized life isn't about where you're at. It's about where you're headed. And, the pain of losing all that money in my first year and a little bit of my second year, that pain is temporary. But quitting, that's forever. It's actually a sign that was posted on the first gym I went to. And at first I thought it was cheesy, but the more I went to the gym, the more I realized why that sign was up there. Because, I started day trading when I was, I started trading stocks when I was 16. I started day trading when I was 18. So it's been about 5 years now, and I can finally say that I've figured it out. I went back to the sim account for a year. I grew that 50%, and now we're trading live money again. And you know what it finally took? Learning about myself, learning how to control my own behavior. And when you're doing something and you feel like you're missing something, take a look in here, because sometimes that's where the answer is. Like I said in the beginning, I used to study this chart pattern, this strategy. Maybe this will work. Maybe if I put this line on my screen, then I'm finally going to be successful. But you want to know what my chart looks like now? There's no drawings, no indicators on it. It's completely blank. It's just the candlesticks. And it goes to show that sometimes less is more. And I no longer sit at the chart from 8:30 until market close. I no longer sit there the full 7 hours. I have days where I wake up, the market opens, and I get my trade in 5 minutes, and I'm like, sayonara, time to go to the gym. I did what I needed to do, and I'm out of here. I kind of realized that, because when you pursue day trading, you trade to make money. However, you can quickly get caught up in the loop of trading just to trade, Because when you get a win, it feels good. So you want another one. It's a little bit like gambling. You can make that reference. You know, when you're at a blackjack table and you lose, well, you want to make your money back, right? So you place another bet. Maybe you lose that one. Now you're like, maybe let's bet a little higher. Trading is kind of the same way, except the goal is to learn how to be the casino instead of the player. For my first year, Dillon was the player. I was trading just to trade. I was trying to make my money back. I was making more mistakes trying to make up for my previous mistakes. They compounded and they turned into a little snowball. And then, you kind of get stuck in this loop where you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm doing so much, but I'm going downhill. You feel like you're pushing your car so hard, and then when you look up at the road, you're like, we haven't even moved. Does somebody have the parking brake on? Is there a block in front of one of these wheels? I swear it's in neutral. But one thing that also helped me is, I wanted it bad because I felt like I was behind in life. I was like, dude, I feel like I'm trying so hard. I feel like I'm trying harder than everybody else, yet everybody else around me, I feel like they're doing better than me. And then I realized that life is not about where you're at. It's about where you're headed. Like my plant analogy, plant your seed and set the conditions for it to grow. But do not be upset at your plant for being a seed, because we all start somewhere. Despite me losing a bunch of money, I wouldn't go back and change that, because looking back, it was the learning curve that I needed in order to shape me into the person I am today. If I would have never lost all that money, I wouldn't know all these mental tricks and tips and wisdom that I know today. Actually, day trading was one of the catalysts that allowed me to lose 130 pounds. Because, about 8 months in, 6 months in or so, I was losing money and I was fat. I was 280 pounds. I was getting up there, man. The only shape I was in was round. So I was like, something has to change. So I told myself, I was like, Dillon, day trading has a 99% failure rate as a career. But you see on TikTok, these people are losing weight and making weight loss transformations like it's no big deal. You see them all the time. Surely, for weight loss transformations, the success rate is a little better than 1%. So I was like, Dillon, if you can't lose the weight, how will you ever be able to do something that has a 99% failure rate? So I started, and then I realized I just fell in love with the process. It taught me delayed gratification. I was able to do something for months. I was able to count every calorie, go in the backyard and lift these heavy rocks for months after months, and not see the final product until 700 days later. Obviously, there's milestones to enjoy along the process, but in the grand scheme of things, you don't get the grand prize till the very end. That's what weight loss taught me, and it actually helped me become a successful day trader, because I realized, okay, Dillon, this is going to take time. You cannot just hop on here, start placing trades, and be a millionaire. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to keep your mind in check. When you lose, you cannot fall into the same habit of, I want my money back. When you win, you cannot fall into the same habit of, ooh, that feels good, I want another one. Now when I trade, I wake up, if I win, cool. If I place 3 trades and I lose, cool. there's no more pressure. There's no more pressure, because like I said in my last video, pressure does make diamonds, but only if you press carbon. And I was pressing everything but carbon and wondering why I never got any diamonds. And then it sent me down the rabbit hole of I feel like I'm doing so much and everyone else is having a great, easy time being successful, and I feel like I'm trying harder than them. And then I realized, once again, life is not about where you're at, it's about where you're headed. So don't be upset that your plant is just a seed, because it'll grow.